I went over to Borders. I picked up his book called Your First Year in Network Marketing. And my first week, I went through some tough times. I talked to all my friends and family. And my very first day, in fact, I signed up in a coffee shop. And right after the presentation, I invited all my friends over to the coffee shop. I think I invited like 10 friends. And on the next day, none of them showed disappointed. In the street home, I saw that book on my desk. I started reading about 12 midnight. And I'll say read just one chapter.
I think Jim is now...
midnight. Hello, Dave?
Yeah, Jim, you were cutting out there. So go on. I'll let you keep talking here for a second.
Okay. I actually started reading that book 12 midnight after all my friends started flicking. And I read all the way up to 5 a.m. in the morning. And there's one thing that really caught my attention is in his first chapter, he talked about 95% of people who stick in the industry for longer than 10 years, 95% of them is going to make it 6 years above and achieve financial freedom. And that quote right there kept me in the industry for my first 3 years. I didn't have any results, but because of that quote right there, I never quit. And in my 4th year, I actually achieved from 0 to 6-figure income, and I wouldn't be here today without Mark. So, man, Mark, we are excited. Are you there with us, my friend, Mr. Mark now?
I'm here, Jim. Thanks for those comments. Can you hear me okay?
We can hear you just fine, Mark. Perfectly clear.
Okay, great. Well, let me correct one thing Jim said, because I get a lot of credit. This isn't false humility. I want you to pay attention to what this young man said. He said, I didn't do a whole lot my first or second or third year, and then my 4th year I hung in and I got to 6-figure income. What that tells me is it wasn't Mark Yarnell. It was a guy that was a Ferrari looking for a can of gas, and our industry was the gas. And I hear this over and over and over, and people are very kind to say, you know, I read something in your book, and it challenged me, or it motivated me, or it excited me. But then what they always add on to the end is the truth, and that is, so here's what I did, and here's how focused I was, and here's how long I did it. Make no mistake about it. The real winners in this business follow a strategic plan that I'm going to talk to you about tonight. Now, let me warn you about something right up front. And Dave, you know, bless his heart, he'll let me get by with anything. I said to Dave today, I said, are you okay with me just coming straight from the hip and giving these people some stuff that's going to be real provocative, as long as I believe it with my heart and guts? And he said, absolutely, Mark. You hold nothing back. You tell them the truth. So I want to just, first of all, I appreciate your comments, Jim. Dave, I very much appreciate your willingness to let me just shoot from the hip. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm almost 60 years old. For 24 years, every morning, I've gotten out of bed and gone zippity-doo-dah and decided what I was going to do that day, because I've always had money and freedom, and that's the real key. You know, what network marketing has done for me, and the thing that's not talked about nearly enough, is it gave me the freedom to choose whatever I wanted to do. Now, there are a lot of you on this call that have dreams and goals and plans that you could achieve if you just had the money and freedom. Let me tell you what the most exciting thing about this profession is. It's not the money. It's not the airplanes or the, you know, or the Ferraris, and many of you will have those things. Don't get me wrong. It's the freedom to do whatever you want to do whenever you want to do it. Now, that's something nobody can take away from me. You know, I mean, people say, you made so many millions of dollars and wasn't that great. No, let me tell you what was great. What was great was having the freedom to pursue my dreams and goals. Now, I grew up in a writing family. You know, my dad wrote a bunch of bestsellers. He made his living as an author when I was growing up. My mom was a freelance editor for a number of large publishing companies. So I grew up in a literary family, and I wanted to be a writer. The problem is, I never took any courses in school, in high school, on you know, journalism or literary, creative literature, or writing, journalism skills. I didn't know how to write. I grew up in a writing family. And when you become a writer, you got to realize it takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of freedom. It takes a lot of money to, you know, my first 39 articles that I submitted to magazines were all rejected. I got all those little slips that said, we're sorry, and then the 40th article got published. To be a writer, to be a polo player, to be a jet boat racer. I don't know what your dreams and goals and plans are, but here's what I do know. To be anything in life, you got to have the time, freedom, and the money to pursue those things. So I think networking, more than anything else, is a tool which provides the money and, more importantly, and this is the critical thing, the freedom, the time every day to pursue your dreams and goals and plans. Tonight I want to talk to you, and you know, Dave's told you the title. I want to talk to you about the age-old question, how do you get to $100,000 a month in a year or less? Now, there are a lot of people who don't like to hear this, a lot of regulators who say, Yarnell, you shouldn't talk about those big numbers like that because not everybody does it. Well, I think that's stupid. The truth is, it'd be like if I was a basketball player and I was going to try out, you know, say 10 years ago for the Chicago Bulls, and the coach brought me in out of college, and he was trying to recruit me, and he said, now, Mark, I know you want to play in the NBA, and I know you want to be great. You see that guy sitting down at the end of the bench? His name is Philip Stillwell, and he's never played 1 minute, but, you know, Philip has made the team. He sits on the bench every game. He practices pretty hard, and we pay him $200,000 a year. And if you're if you work hard and you're real good, one day maybe you can be as good as Philip. That coach isn't going to say that to me. He's going to point to the end of the basketball court, and he's going to say, you see that guy down there? His name is Michael Jordan. Last year he made $18 million just off Hanes underwear ads. The guy's an animal. If you come into our team and you work hard and you let him mentor you and you practice real hard, maybe one day you'll be as great as Michael Jordan or Pippen or one of the other big players. See, in every field in capitalism, the greatest people are held up as examples of what you can do, except in network marketing. We're like the bastard stepchildren of capitalism. We can't even tell the truth about what we earn for fear that people will get sucked into this horrible network marketing. Well, I'm going to tell you the truth tonight. I'm going to tell you I think that $100,000 a month is chump change. I don't think that's big money. When I was writing for Success Magazine, I interviewed people making $2 million a month, $3 million a month. You know, I don't want to hear about Yarnell, $100,000 is a lot of money. What I want you to know is how any man or woman, assuming certain things, I want you to know how people like me with no college diploma, no wealthy parents, no special skills, can create millions and millions of dollars in income, but more importantly, can create the freedom to get out of bed every morning, sing zippity-doo-dah, and do whatever I want. Now, you can do whatever you want when you hear this stuff, but I suggest you pay attention because, you know, I've got no reason to not come out of the blocks with the facts for you. I mean, you're not in my company. I'm not in your company. I'm not trying to get you to sign up in anything. All I want you to know, by giving back to this industry what a wonderful lifestyle it's given to me, is how I got to the big money. And I'm going to tell you tonight, I'm going to tell you the 5 things you need to know to get to $100,000 a month. Now, what you do with this stuff is all up to you. Number 1, it's what I call the core value match. You got to ask yourself this question. Would you recruit your mama into the deal you're in? Is this so credible, so decent, so realistic that you'd bring mama into the deal, even if mama was kind of sick and didn't have a lot of money, if mama was dependent on you, if mama was still alive for some of you, mine isn't, but if yours were, would you bring your mama in? Because let me tell you something. This number 1 point is very critical. If your core values do not match the company you're in, you will sabotage yourself eventually, and you will be a result of unintended consequences. In other words, if you don't believe in what you're doing, eventually at an unconscious level, you will take steps to sabotage yourself right before you get to the big money. People like Jim get to the big money in under 4 years or 5 years, largely because their core values match the company they're ultimately in where they make that big money. So just understand something. If any of you are knowingly in a deal that you don't really believe you'd be proud to put mama in, you're in the wrong deal. I've been in 3 deals in my whole life in 24 years. I've never even been tempted to do one that did not match my core values. Now, let me tell you about how easy it is to get seduced into one of those. I'll bet I get, realistically, just because of my transparency and the books I've read and the articles I've read and the speeches I've delivered, a lot of people get to thinking I'm a whole lot smarter than I really am. And I get a lot of calls every month from guys that own companies, and they're offering me signing bonuses. And all I've got to do is ask 2 or 3 questions to figure out that my core values do not match what they're doing. And they always say the same thing, but Yarnell, do you have any idea how much money you could make? And my comment is, hey, it's about doing something I'd put my mom in if she was still alive, and I wouldn't put my mom in your deal. So, you know, I don't care. You transfer $1 billion to my checking account tomorrow, I'm not doing your deal. I've had people say, Yarnell, you're nuts. You're certifiably insane. Anybody would, if you get $1 billion tomorrow, of course you'd do my deal. No, I wouldn't even consider it unless the deal matches my core values. Friends, I've seen over and over and over again great men and women enter our industry seduced by big money, violate their core values, and join something that they knew darn good and well was a flim-flam, a bottle rocket, a sizzle company, and then they sabotaged themselves just before they got to the big money. You will do that unless you're a sociopath, because subconsciously all of us has a core value match to certain companies and a core value unmatched to many others. So number one, if you want to get to the big money, make absolutely sure you're representing a vehicle, a company, either a product or a service, where you would recruit mama into it because you're that proud of it. And if you won't, you better look for something that matches your core values. Now, another thing I want to say before moving on to point 2, folks, this is only my opinion. You know, I've got limited experience. I've been in 3 deals total in 24 years, but I have interviewed a lot of people. When I was writing for Success Magazine for 2 years, all they did was send me around the country interviewing big money people. I not only know what I've done to get to the big money, I know what people that got to $2 and $3 million a month did because they opened up to me when they knew I was writing articles about them for Success Magazine. So I've got a pretty good handle on this. So trust me, it's just my opinion, but my opinion matters because I learned so much from so many great men and women in our industry. So number one, just understand your core values have got to match the company opportunity that you're involved in, or eventually you'll do something stupid to sabotage yourself. Self-sabotage is an unintended consequence when people get involved in something purely for money that they know at a heart level is a bunch of garbage. So there are great companies. They're bottle rockets. Make sure you're looking at something that matches your values if you want to get to $100,000 a month. Now, the second thing, in my opinion, if you want to get to $100,000 a month, was taught by Harvard for many, it still is. If you get in the Harvard MBA program, if you're lucky enough to get into Harvard, you're going to take a course. You're going to actually get a series of lectures on what they call the billion-dollar blueprint. Now, simply put, what a lot of really brilliant marketing experts have done is they've analyzed different billion-dollar industries, and they have built a profile of what companies are most likely going to make it to that magic number of $1 billion in annualized sales or volume. The number one of 7 things that they teach you at Harvard they call market sector. Here's what they mean. If you're going to get in any industry, especially the distribution industry like ours, you have to make sure that you've got a large enough sector either of your product or your service. Now, let me give you an example. All things being equal, you're much better off, in my opinion, doing a company that 100% of the people in North America use every day, as opposed to one where 75% of the people don't use it at all. What you need to ask yourself is this: if you're going to get to $100,000 a month, how big is the market sector, and how much competition do you have within that sector? And I'm just going to tell you right now, the bigger the market sector, the more likelihood your product or service is going to be distributed to more and more and more people, and you're going to get to that magic $100,000 a month figure. Now, those are the only two things that I'm going to say about company selection. But it better match your core values if you want to get to the big money, or you'll probably sabotage yourself. And it ought to be a market sector that's big enough that you're in a non-competitive or non-threatening arena where you can actually reach a huge number of people. I say to people all the time, all things being equal, let's say you're looking at two companies. One of them is marketing services or products that is used by everybody, and the other one is marketing products or services used by a tiny fraction of the population. Would you rather get into the distribution of a product or opportunity or anything that you've got to modify people's behavior to get them to use it once, or would you rather get into a profession, into a field, into a market sector where everybody's already conditioned to using what you're trying to sell them? It's a no-brainer as far as I'm concerned. Number 3, and this is critical, 2 hours a day, professional relationship building. Now, listen to me very careful. This is very, very important. I know no exceptions to this. Again, now we're talking about getting to $100,000 a month, and we're talking about doing that in 12 months. So you know it's not going to be easy. You have got to work 2 hours a day in professional relationship building. Now, what I mean by that? What I mean is, out of 24 hours, you do whatever you want with 22 of them. What I want you to do is I want you to realize that you're only paid to do 2 things in network marketing. Now, you may be in a different company. You may be in something brand new I've never heard of from, Bangladesh or Zimbabwe or some obscure third world country that's just launched a new MLM model I don't even know about. But as far as I know, network marketing pays you to do 2 things. 1, recruit. 2, retail. That's it. Period. End of the story. Now, listen to me carefully. 2 hours a day, that means you've got to be into professional relationship building. Now, what do I mean by professional? What I mean is, well, let me make it so that it doesn't appear to be a disparaging comment. When Tiger Woods was the last year he was an amateur, Tiger Woods didn't make anything. The first year he turned pro, he made $18 million. Now the question is, what was the difference? He went to the driving ranges often. He actually played in one less tournament his first pro year than he did his last amateur year. He didn't make anything as an amateur, but he made $18 million the first year he turned pro. What's the difference? He was professional. He was playing in pro tournaments. Now, if the difference between an amateur and a professional is, an amateur doesn't get paid, a professional does. Now, use a little common sense here. If network marketing pays you to do 2 things, only 2, recruit and retail a product or service, then anything else is amateur. That doesn't mean in a disparaging way that you're some kind of amateur. I don't mean it's not a put down. It's just that amateurs don't get paid. So here's what I know. If Mark Yarnell is watching Oprah, he's an amateur. If Mark Yarnell is surfing the net, looking at other deals, he's an amateur. If Mark Yarnell is playing pool, he's an amateur. If Mark Yarnell is recruiting or retailing, he's a professional. So listen to me carefully. You want to get to the big, big, big money? Number 3, work 2 hours a day as a professional relationship builder. In other words, do your very best to communicate in some manner with prospects, either for your opportunity or the product or service you're selling, at least 2 hours a day. Now, you decide how you want to do it. There are a lot of people on this call who are very, very exceptional at technology communication. They can build professional relationships using the Internet. Great. 2 hours a day. Don't be jacking around doing anything else online. Don't be tweeting and Twittering and Facebooking and all that stuff. You got 22 hours to get into your social network and talk about, you know, who did what last weekend at the big party. 2 hours a day, you need to get involved in professional relationship building online. If you use the phone, 2 hours a day, you need to be calling other human beings in another location and talking to them about your opportunity or your product or your service. If you do meetings, 2 hours a day, you better be doing it. If you go walk around and talk to people and hand out DVDs, you better go walking around 2 hours a day. Here's all I'm asking you to do. 2 hours a day, professional relationship building. Use whatever vehicle you want. Doesn't matter. But during those 2 hours, you're focused on only two things, recruiting and retailing. Because, ladies and gentlemen, listen to me carefully. That's all you're paid to do. That's all you're paid to do. You're not paid to listen to whining downline people. You're not paid to try to drag losers across the finish line. You're not paid to talk to your upline. You're not paid to sit and listen to CDs about how to build the business. You're not paid to watch, surf the net and look for new deals in prospecting. You are paid to recruit and retail. Please do that 2 hours a day if you want to get to $100,000 a month. And the good news is you only got to do that 5 days a week. And that brings me to point 4. You have to decide to get to $100,000 a month whether you're going to follow a 1, a 2, or a 3-year plan. Now, here's the difference. It's all just a numbers game. It sounds easy rolling off my tongue, but it's very hard work. I mean, listen to me carefully. If you're going to do $100,000 a month in most companies in 1 year, you're going to have to talk to 30 people a day, 5 days a week. We'll just call it a 20-day month. If you're going to do it in 2 years, you're going to have to build professional relationships with 20 people a day in some capacity, and if you want to do it in 3 years, you're going to have to do 10 a day. There is no substitute. You can't go down to 5 a day and do it in 4 years. That isn't going to work. It's the law of diminishing returns. So let's pretend for a moment that you want to get to $100,000 a month, and you want to do that in 1 year. That means 2 hours a day, your objective is to do everything in your power 20 days a month to talk to 30 people. Now, people say, Yarnell, 30 people a day? That's impossible. How would I do that? Well, I'm going to get to that in a moment. But basically, all you're doing is driving people to information. You know, there are several steps in this industry. The first one is exposure. You don't want to sell them the farm in the very first conversation. And I'll get to that in a minute when I get to point 5. But in point 4, you got to remember, if you want to get to $100,000 a month, you got to talk to 30 people a day, 20 days a month, and I'm going to give you worst-case scenario. That's 600 people. Let's assume 95% of them just don't do squat. They don't sign up. They don't use your service. They don't use your product. That's worst-case scenario. In today's world, you've got 80 million baby boomers who are broke and hooped, and you've got 85 million Generation Yers who have no idea what to do except run around on skateboards with backwards ball caps. They're starving to death. They're wanting a job. They're wanting a profession. There's never been a higher percentage of young, aggressive people who deserve to prosper and old, tired people who've played by the rules and wound up with no 401k in the history of planet Earth. It's never happened in the richest country in the world. So you want to talk to 30 of them a day. You want to drive them to the information, maybe spend 2 minutes at the most with 30 people. I can talk to 30 people in 2 hours if I waste time with several of them. So on a 20-day month, that's 600 people. If 570 of them, which is 95%, don't do anything, I can promise you 30 of them will. Now, not all of them will become distributors. Some of them will just want your product, or they'll just want your service. But a lot of them will become distributors. Now, let's go again. Worst case scenario. That means at the end of the month, you've got 30 people by talking to 600. 570 didn't do anything. Now most of you are going to do better than that. I'm giving you worst case scenario to be fair here. Out of that 30, let's say 29 of them quit. What that means is, if you do that for 12 months, at the end of the year, you've got 12 frontline winners. It is impossible, or if you're in a binary, 12 winners anywhere. I don't care where you put them. Here's the point. If 6 of them quit, I've never seen a company with 6 monsters and great networkers busting it where you'd make under $120,000 a month. I've never seen one. Now, I'm sure there are some comp plans that don't reward you effectively, but on a normal 45 to 55% payout with reasonable levels or reasonable balancing of 2 legs, whatever the pay plan, if you've got 6 monster distributors in your organization, it's impossible not to earn that kind of money. But notice what we're talking about here, and I'm keeping it very, very realistic. You're busting your chops. You're talking to 600 people a month. 95% of them aren't doing anything. Of those who do, 29 out of 30 are quitting. And out of the 12 winners you get, 6 of them quit. You're still at $100,000 a month. Folks, you can challenge me all you want. I've never have I seen the opportunity presented to me where a person couldn't do that with 6 winners anywhere in their organization. So that's number 4. You've got to pick a 1, 2, or 3-year plan. If you want to get to $100,000 a month in 3 years, talk to 10 people a day, 20 days a month. You want to do it in 2, talk to 20. You want to do it in 1, talk to 30. Now, remember what I said earlier. It sounds real easy rolling off my tongue. I'm going to be real straight up with you. It isn't easy. It's the hardest work you'll ever do. I'm telling you, it is not easy to get on the phone or on the internet or out in the community and have the courage to literally approach and introduce and expose 30 people a day to this business. If you think it is, just go try it. It all depends on how much money you want to make and how hard you're willing to work. And number 5, and this is important, if you are going to get to $100,000 a month, you've got to know the landmines. You got to learn how to recognize the landmines that are going to blow up your career, and you got to avoid them. Now, I'm going to give you the 10 biggest landmines tonight that blow up people's career. Listen to me carefully. Landmine number 1, I call the comparison bomb. Friends, when somebody talks, if you're in a deal and somebody calls you and says, I've got something I want you to look at, I'm in this new deal, you want to hold up a mental bag of garlic and a cross like you're dealing with a dadgum vampire. I heard the laugh. This business is focus, focus, focus. I have never seen a bomb blow more legs off the careers of people when they're just getting started than the comparison bomb. You don't need to be looking at other deals. You need to be like the Jims of the world. You need to be saying, hey, I don't care if it takes me 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 years, I'm going to the top of this deal, and that means I'm going to focus, focus, focus. I am not going to compare my deal. I've already made a choice. Friends, if you pick a good deal and you're happy with it and you like the service the company's selling and you like the pay plan and you like your company and your upline, why would you waste your time allowing other people to compare their deal to yours? Forget about other deals. They'll blow you up. Hold up a bag of garlic. Somebody tries to show me a deal, they're a vampire. I'm never talking to them. Landmine number 2, the multiple stream income bomb. Folks, listen to me carefully. Listen very, very carefully. I know there are celebrity authors out there telling you got to diversify and do multiple streams of income. Bunk. You've got to focus. Now, there are situations in which you will be doing one MLM company, and you'll find tools that will allow you to expedite your success, and those tools may have affiliate compensation. There will be times when you'll be in one deal and you find ways to use other tools to drive your one deal. That's not a multiple stream of income. But if you think you can do 3 or 4 legitimate networking deals at the same time, you're nothing but a carnival barker. You're saying to people, hey, if you don't like what I got up this sleeve, let me show you what I got over here. You might as well be running a tilt-a-whirl at the Ozark Empire Fair, toothless. Forget multiple streams of income. The only people that advocate multiple streams of income are people who write books and have never built a downline in network marketing. As far as I'm concerned, it's a goofball proposition. You can only do one deal. Don't step on the multiple stream of income bomb. You'll blow your leg off. Number 3, the multitasking bomb. Listen to me carefully, folks. Everybody can multitask, but nobody can multi-focus. It's impossible. If I asked you to focus on both A and B, you might flip back and forth between A and B fast enough to believe you're doing both. You're not. That's not the way the human brain works. You have got to stop multitasking 2 hours a day and focus on one thing and one thing only, recruiting and retailing. Now, if you want to multitask and con yourself into thinking you can do two things at once, be my guest 22 hours a day. But the purpose of this call is to get you to $100,000 a month without you blowing up your career in the first year. And if you want to blow up your career, you just try to multitask. You know, some of you, this is going to make you mad. I'm going to say it anyway. If all of a sudden a Bic pen, let's say that all of a sudden we found out a Bic pen, a blue, only blue. You know those little writing pens people use? Bic pen, the kind you buy for 80 cents in any store. All of a sudden, the blue Bic pen with blue ink and a blue cap started blowing up and taking out lives. And all of a sudden, you find out in your city, 2 people yesterday died of a blue Bic pen blow-up. And then all of a sudden, a week later, you find out 22 people in your town died from a blue Bic pen blow. How long do you think it would take for the government and your local government to start recalling and getting rid of blue Bic pens? Friends, let me tell you something. Last year in my little tiny province up here in Canada, 1,200 people were maimed permanently because they were trying to drive while they were talking on a cell phone. Now, if it were a Bic pen blowing up and causing a person to go over the yellow line and hit somebody with a head-on, they'd be recalling those pens. What do you think they're doing with cell phones up here? Everybody's still using them. Now, why is a cell phone a problem when you're driving? Well, real simple. 159 people died, innocent people in other cars, because people crossed over the yellow line and caused head-ons, because nobody can multi-focus. You can multitask. I mean, you can put on lipstick and eat your burger and talk on your phone and tweet your friend. You can tweet Larry King while you're driving down the street at 60, and I understand Larry loves tweeting. But here's the deal. Too many people are dying. Don't try to multitask in network marketing. Just do one deal 2 hours a day, and that deal is recruiting and retailing. Number 4 is the banker bomb. You want to have your business explode before you know what hits you? Loan people the money to buy the starter kit. You know, I tell people are always asking me, Yarnell, you've made so much money. I'll tell you what, if you'll just finance me in this deal and you'll bring me in, you'll buy the kit, watch my smoke. I'm a genius. I'm great. I've built deals I've been in 20 deals and I've built them all. If you'll just give me the money for a kit, I say, you know what, I made a deal with my banker. I won't loan money if he won't do MLM. We cut a deal. So listen to me, folks. I've given up $17,000 over my 24-year career. Not one of those people ever made it. Not one of them ever paid me a penny back. I'm not whining. This industry's been real good to me, but I just decided something. I'm going to warn people early on. Forget the banker bomb. It'll blow up. Nobody will give you your money back, and none of them will make it. People value the kid at what they pay for it, which is zero if you loan them money. The 5th bomb I call the product expert bomb. The more technically oriented you become to your product or service, the more you're going to baffle people who you should be trying to get into the business. Let me tell you something. When I was in Nu Skin, I was with Nu Skin 13 years, still love that company with all my heart. You know, I sold my downline, but what a company. Blake Roney, Steve Lund, Craig Bryson, Craig Tilton, Claire McDermott, those people were so fair to me, so honest, so decent. They were always honest. They never screwed around with me. But I decided when I got to $60,000 a month that I needed to become a product expert. Now, they had a little product that used to stimulate hair growth. It's called Nutriol. So I called over to Italy, to Cuomo, Italy, to Krinos Labs, because I wanted to become I thought, man, I am brilliant. I'm making so much money. I better learn how this works. And so I learned exactly how it worked. And so I'd stand up in front of a crowd of people, and I'd dazzle them with my product expertise. I'd say, I'd explain to them exactly how Krinos was able to to fractionate the mucopolysaccharides to exactly the right molecular structure so it could penetrate to the very papilla of the hair follicle and stimulate and vasodilate growth. And I'd have dermatologists in the audience shaking their head. They didn't know what I was talking about. The more you know about products and services, the more you might think you're dazzling people. You're not. You don't have to be a product or a comp plan expert to work. The more expert you become, the less likely you're going to be spending your time doing what you're paid to do, which is recruit and retail. Now, you need to know something about your product and company, but don't become an expert. That's a bunch of garbage. The sixth bomb is the friends and family bomb. I got news for you. Your friends and family are not a market to be. If you look up the word market in the dictionary, it'll say a group of people to be sold or exploited. Your friends and family are not a group of people to be exploited. They're going to join you in your deal like rats going off a sinking ship when you get your first big check. You don't need to do a Hulk Hogan smackdown on Aunt Mildred the first week. They can't wait to get involved once you start making big money. Most of us can count our close friends and family on 2 hands and 2 toes. 2 feet. Why run off the people we love the most when they're going to join us as fast as they can when we get to the big money? Save your friends and family for later. Your warm market is people who will warm up to you when they find out you've got something in common with them. So, in my case, I just got the list of all the paraglide pilots in North America, 33,000 of them. I can't remember now. I never got through half of them before I was making $1 million a year. So, I mean, basically, and I just call them. I'm a paraglide pilot. Hey, it's Mark Yarnell. Hey, Dave, it's Mark Yarnell. I'm a paraglide pilot up here in British Columbia. Are you still flying? Yeah, I am, David said. Wow, that's great. Listen, before we go any further, Dave, I want to know what kind of wing you're flying on. Grab a pen. I found a way for paraglide pilots to make $50,000 a month and fly 5 days a week. You got to be kidding. I mean, these people didn't reject me. They loved the fact that I was a paraglide pilot like them. I had instant rapport with them, and I bought those names for pennies. So listen to me carefully. Forget the friends and family bomb. Don't step on they're not a market to be. Well, you're going to get all them anyway. Don't Hulk Hogan your Aunt Mildred. Number 7 is the networking bomb. Forget about meetings where everybody shows up to change cards and switch company. You know, these network meetings where you go in and there are 50 people there, and you're going to meet all kinds of people. They're only there for one reason, and they're there to switch and get your card and try to who's the best salesman. They're going to try to get you in their deal. I've never seen one of those meetings work. Forget about those breakfasts where everybody changes cards, and you get 30 seconds to pitch your deal. Those people are not there to get in your deal. They're there to get you in their deal. Total waste of time. The 8th one is what I call the dabble bomb. The dabble bomb. When you know for sure you've got a dabbler, a part-timer, don't be wasting a bunch of your time. This may be the silliest industry I've ever seen. This may be the only industry in the world where a person can make $100,000 a month, and all they want to do is figure out how to do it without working. I've had people say, Yarnell, I see it. I get it. I can't. I'm losing sleep. I'm so excited. What a great industry. Now if I can just figure out how to do it without working. When people want to dabble, I give them to somebody else to dabble. I'm not going to jack around with people who want to dabble. The dabble bomb will blow you up. You're looking for people with enough IQ to go to work to get to the big money. They need money. They need freedom. They need everything you've got. If all they want to do is dabble, forget it. The 9 is the dump bomb. Do not dump all your information on a prospect the first time you talk to them. Just expose them to a little bit of information to tweak their enthusiasm. When they come back to you, that's when you do the presentation. The dump bomb will blow you up because people will say, well, that sounds real interesting, Dave. Tell me a little bit about your company. And you're sucked into it, and you start giving them a presentation in the very first approach. You dump the whole farm on them in the first 5 minutes. I'm going to tell you what they're going to do. They're going to go home, and they're going to Google your company. They're going to go, aha, I knew it. It's one of those pyramid schemes. I've got an aunt with a garage full of soap, and they're gone. So don't dump on them in the very beginning. Just expose them to information that's calculated to get them excited. And then number 10 is the shortcut bomb. If you hear nothing else I say tonight, please hear this. You heard how Jim eloquently launched this entire webinar tonight. He said, I didn't do squat my first year, my second, my third, and then my fourth, I got to a six-figure income. Now, I'll be honest with you. It took Jim a little longer than it needed to. But I so admire a man of his stature, a guy who will work that hard that many years because he sees the payoff at the end of the tunnel. Friends, there are no shortcuts. This is hard work, and it's worth it. But the good news is, full-time's 2 hours a day, 5 days a week, if you do it right.